34, we'll call the Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021 FARGODOME Authority meeting to order. Before we get to item number 1, are there any additions or revisions to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
This is David. I'd make a motion to approve.
Second by Mike.
Dan approves, Mike seconds.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay. We'll move to item number 1 then, approval of the January 26 minutes.
Steen moves to approve.
Nancy second.
First by Dan.
First
second
by Rick.
Or Rick, sorry.
Second by Nancy.
Second by Nancy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, carried. Any old business to bring before the authority? Hearing none, we'll move to item number 3, new business. Rob.
All right, we'll start out on page 5. The financials for the month of January. Susan's favorite month because she only has to say it once, so she can feel like a teacher or a mother. So for the month of January, we had 3 event days, which would be the Redwood Valley Boat and Marine Show, attendance of just over 5,800. We had total of event income of about 44,700, and we had indirect expenses of just about 348,000. So we did, for the month of January, have a net deficit of 177,800. However, that is actually above the budgeted deficit for the month of January of $196,000. We had called for attendance, a budgeted attendance of 12,250 on event income of 70,500, but we did not have the Fight the Frost event. So looking at the events, the theater side, we had $5,000 in theater event expenses, which was additional cancellation expenses resulting from the cancellation of the Mercy Me event that was scheduled for this coming April 25th. With everything going on, they had just made the decision to scrap the whole tour, and they're looking to come back in 2022, since they were going to be in April. The trade show side was about $4,500 above budget, with the boat show being slightly higher than the budgeted attendance, with the ancillary incomes of food and beverage. Convention and miscellaneous is $13,000 below budget, as I mentioned, with Fight the Frost not happening. And the meeting rooms were about $12,000 below budget, as continued to have very slow meeting rooms rented. Lots of activity with our meetings and NDSU football, but not many renters coming back yet. On the expense side, we were $6,400 below budget on labor. A couple of things there. The city of Fargo decided not to do the 2% cost of competitive wage adjustment at the beginning of the year, based on the pandemic and everybody keeping their jobs in 2020, no furloughs, anything such as that. So they decided to forego that for 2021. Also, timing, we still have the 1 full-time position, suite and catering kitchen manager, has not been hired, has been approved in both the 2020 and 2021 budgets. We are actually starting that process now, so hopefully in the coming months, probably through the whole process, the next 2 to 3 months, we'll have that position on, getting ready for the fall. And obviously no full-time overtime. However, we did exceed, we were higher than budget on our part-time non-event labor, particularly on the cleaning side, nearly doubled it, about $8,600 above budget, but that was due to getting ready for events to come back, a lot of cleaning in the seats, scraping gum off in the bathrooms and everything such as that. So felt it was necessary. Nobody likes to spend money, but with the building being shut down, you don't just flip the switch and open. You need to prepare. And then on the operations was $40,000 below budget, mostly with it being a milder month. So utilities were below budget, snow removal was slightly below budget, and also timing with different purchases for janitorial supplies and things. However, I believe it was an estimate on the Excel energy bill because we don't get it in time, and it had come in, so it's actually about $3,000 or $4,000 higher than what was estimated. So we still are below budget, but the Excel energy came in right about the budget number. Any questions on, so that overall, that moves us that the operating expenses for the month of January are about $59,000 below budget. So, any questions on the financials?
Can you do year-to-date?
I could, I'm not going to.
Mr. Chair, do you want a motion to approve?
You,
Dave is moving to accept.
All right, perfect. Second by Rick.
okay, second by Rick. Roll call?
Yes.
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 Dan?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Nancy?
Rick, yes.
And Mike had already said yes.
Thank you.
Now just reviewing current events. Without having very many events in here for nearly the last 11 months, we kind of came back with a bang here last weekend. So our past events, obviously, we talked about the boat show a little bit. That was 3 weeks ago now. But this past week, we had the state wrestling tournament. So they moved in on Wednesday the 17th. And they had their tournament on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the 18th, 19th, and 20th. New this year to kind of spread things out. We stayed in the football set. They used 12 competition mats and broke up the wrestling on Thursday and Friday each day to a Class B session and a Class A session. So for the Class B sessions, we had about 2,750, 3,000 people for that session, stopped wrestling, cleared the building. Then the Class A session had around 2,000, 1,750, 2,000 for their sessions. And then on Saturday, it was just the duels tournament. And again, had about 2,500 people in there along with the wrestlers. So everything seemed to go well. It was good to be back for events. I didn't really care for the 14-hour days, but I don't think anybody else, but we'll all get used to it. But then the operations and the cleaning staff and event services and food and beverage got everything flipped around. And then we did the home opening Bison football game on Sunday versus Youngstown State. About 6,500 was the attendance number, so lower than what the set capacity is currently, but we anticipate that number to maybe inch a little higher for the Illinois State game, and then likely shoot up to close to the maximum capacity for the UND game on March 20th and South Dakota State game on April 3rd. Otherwise, coming up, we do also have the Redwood Valley Sportsman show. They'll start moving in, setting up next Monday, March 1st, and Tuesday, March 2nd. And then that show will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, March 5th through the 8th, 4th through the 7th. Any questions on any other current events, things happening in the building?
Football went well.
I think overall it went well. Mask wearing was good, very good. Coming in and on the concourse, had a few who needed to be reminded that just because you're sitting in your seats doesn't mean you shouldn't have your mask on. But overall, I think very positive, very good to have events in. And as we had our weekly event planning meeting this week, our staff meeting, we usually look 5 weeks out, and obviously it's the first time in 12 months that we've had an event listed for every week upcoming for the next 5 months. So it feels, or 5 weeks. So it feels good to start doing events. Again, it's going to be slower event-wise through April, but hearing, NDSU is planning, in case they make the decision, they haven't made a final decision, but looking to possibly have in-person commencement exercises in May. The high schools have reached out and looking, making sure their first weekend in June dates, that they have those on hold, is possibly looking at in-person high school graduations again at the end of May, beginning of June. We're discussing Rib Fest, it's a general admission, large event. I don't think we're going to be where we need to be as far as pandemic and vaccinations and things such as that. So we're studying that event right now. Looks like USA Wrestling is still planning to be coming in July, and waiting to hear what will happen with concerts. Obviously, the whole vaccination process, the whole pandemic is dragging on, going on longer than anybody thought. So those are the two scheduled. Maroon 5, Guns N' Roses are still on our books. We have no words on anything other than they are happening on August 5th and August 11th. But still just waiting to see how everything shakes out, since we're just at the end of February right now. And then planning for, we've got theater shows looking at the fall, and potentially some concerts. Obviously NDSU football, the regular slate of high school football and Dakota Bowl, which is North Dakota Football Championships, along with the big one, Arts and Crafts Show, should be coming back, and the Ag Show. So hopefully by September we are back to our normal slate of events. Pardon us as we have a lot of testosterone going through the pre-function area with NDSU.
Right. Did any volunteer organizations work?
Yeah, we had,
Concessions
our concession stands were what we had decided to have open were manned. And so we opened up all of our permanent stands, a lot of our portable stands. We took out a couple of our concession stands for the spring season, the portables, kind of those ones that have a lot more hand touching, whether it's donuts or we only have one taco in a bag stand or what. But so they worked. Concessions was probably a little slower than anticipated, but we definitely saw that at the Dakota Bowl and state volleyball as well. Wrestling was busy for the amount of people that were in the building, but not up to same dollar amounts as what it was in years past.
Okay.
But slowly but
Say,
surely,
Rob?
yep.
Quick question, and I know you guys usually do your budgets pretty early. So when you did the budgets, I understand that there would be some concerts that were maybe planned that aren't there, but you didn't budget for a spring football, did you?
No, we did not. We only budgeted for a regular season, but if you recall when we did the budget, which you're right, we do it in May and June, and at that point in time, I think there was actually still optimism in the world, and so we kind of were hoping that the corner would be turned in that late 2020 time period, 2020 to 2021, where the reality is that corner is going to be starting to be rounded. In my opinion, the corner is going to start to be rounded a little bit now, but more so fall of 2021, but really come back the 2021-2022 new year. So we did put in 8 concerts for 2021 in that budget, just because of thinking it was going to be there back then. Well, hindsight's always great, so we are not going to meet budget in 2021. I can tell you that right now, more than likely. However, these NDSU football games, whether it's the 4 regular season, or if things continue and we're fortunate enough to be able to host some playoff games, those will definitely help. But they're not going to fully make up for any potential concerts, or the Shrine Circus not happening this year, or the rodeo not happening this year. But hopefully the fall of 2021 will be real close to kind of what we thought the budget was. And then moving into 2022, right now, there's a lot of interest in 2022, particularly first and second quarter. So if anybody has a way to manufacture an extra, 4 months in the first quarter of 2022, we'd be sitting good. So.
Right. Yeah, no, and I guess my thought is that I understand that we were going to be below budget, but the spring football is going to be a little bit of a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was going to be some concerts. They aren't happening, unfortunately, but at least spring football will bring some things in. Not as big as a concert, but, even at half capacity to start with, that's not too shabby. I mean, it's nothing to cry over, put it that way.
Absolutely. It's activity. That's the way we're looking at it is it is revenue coming in. It allows our suite holders to come to events. It allows our advertisers to get eyes on their stuff inside the building. So it all helps. So it is good. Absolutely.
Anything else for Rob for General Manager's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to B, committee reports.
Committee reports, all right. First item is the 2020 audit. Let's come back to that one, just because we'll take a vote from the authority standpoint to review that. That was presented to us by Jamie Fay from Mike Bailey. We'll come back to that. Item B1B, January financials, those have been accepted. So we'll go on to C, which is project updates. On page 13, there was project updates shared with respect to the dressing room. The project was received. We received a certificate of occupancy from the city, and there are a few small items at the dome level here. We're still addressing to finish that out. The second item was the canopy repairs. They're going through the inspections on the canopy. Noticed some support columns had some shifting, and looking into what might be a long-term fix to that. A request for proposal will go out in March. The proposals, along with the financing plan, will be presented to the authority in the April meeting, so more to come on that. The next item was LED lighting study, which is been engaged, a study for the facility for potential move to LED lighting. There's more information on this project will be available in the upcoming meetings. The next item, which would be D, the escrow balance of performance, was reviewed by the Finance Committee and Building Committee, and as we've done more recently on a month-to-month basis. And right now, through December 2020, the permanent fund has had a return of 14.39%. So that would be my motion to accept the Finance Committee report as presented. And again, I'd like to come back to the audit after we vote on that.
Steve seconds.
Okay, we got a,
David,
Yes.
Blake,
yes.
Roy,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
All right, and then the final item, which would be B1A, which is the 2020 audit that was presented to us by Jamie Fay from Mike Bailey. She presented it to us. It was received by the Finance Committee at that level here. Given it's our full audit, would need to be received by the FARGODOME Authority. So I would make a motion to accept the 2020 audit from Mike Bailey as presented.
Second, Troy.
Roll call?
so David,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Roy,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Nancy.
Mr. Chair, that would conclude the Finance Committee report.
Awesome, thank you very much. Any additional items?
Just happy my chair has wheels.
Hearing none, thank you guys for calling in. And that would conclude, we're adjourned.
Thanks all.
Good.